All right, good morning. Welcome to the Morning Update Show. My name is Omari Salisbury. Well, the sun came up this morning, and we're all still here. We're still alive. Everything else, we don't know who's going to be president quite yet. Looks like it's 237 to 213 up there on the chart. Today, we're joined by Justin Carter of CapitolHillSeattle.com, Capitol Hill Seattle blog. Also, Nikki Barron will be jumping in, and she's going to be talking about some of the historic first from yesterday's election. And also we have another segment in Chop Artist. Today's segment is Maya Marie. Before I get to all of that though, let me bring in the big fella. What's up, Con?
What's up, big old man? You know, you're right. The sun came up. We here, baby. We here.
All right. So for people who might not know, my brother Chukundi Salisbury, you see it there in the title, ran for 37th Legislative District, spot number 2. Came up a little bit short last night, but you know what, man? We're proud of you regardless. It's good to see you this morning.
Yeah, you know what, man? I just thank everybody that supported us. And at the end of the day, the issues that we're concerned with are issues that should be issues to everybody here in the 37th and beyond. And so, like I said in my thing, we're just going to continue to work and build and move towards, success and engaging community like we always been. I mean, so yeah, this is just another step along the journey. The mission continues up.
Right. Well, when you talk about the mission continuing, one thing that I'm always happy to say, and when you decided to run, is that it's just a continuation of the things that you've been doing for decades in our community, and go ahead.
Well, yeah, what I would say, I wrote a few things down, man. When I say the mission continues, before I even ran for office, we was talking about gentrification, right? So we're going to continue with that House is Not for Sale campaign. We're going to continue, going to double down on everything. 100 Black parents, we're going to still do that work, take these kids to camp, engage Black parents around and advocate for them in the school district and everything else. One of the things I would like to say is we had a huge victory with Earned Vote. Right, we're part of this historic, getting out the vote here in King County, and so we're most certainly part of that. Partner with some great organizations to get that going. So I want to celebrate that victory. The other piece is, we're going to continue to engage youth upstream. Through 100 Black parents. We've been on the show, talked about that. So this work doesn't stop; it just keeps going on. And then most importantly, I think one of the things that we're most certainly going to continue to work on, regardless of elected position or not, is reducing gun violence in our community. As you know, our family has been impacted with gun violence. Your son, my nephew, you, me personally, we all been impacted. And this is something that regardless of who won any election, we have to work on that as a community and speak to it. Because honestly, one of the things I learned through this process is that there's really no tears for our kids, And when we talk about responsible gun legislation, we're talking about background checks and this and that. We're not really speaking to the Black and brown kids that are dying here in the 37th and beyond. And so, what does that mean? That means that, again, that the work continues. And I'm going to be in the streets. I'm going to be out here. I need my Converge sweatshirt.
All right. Well, we got one for you. I'm sure producer Nikki Barron got one. We're happy to see you in it. Listen, but before I let you go, Con, and I wanted to make sure and get you on the show here this morning. The very first person I talked to, that man, I wanted to tell you that you came up short for the legislative seat, but man, you should know that it's like the whole community is so proud of you. You know how many people never voted. They never voted in their whole life. They never believed in this system at all. But they saw you on a ballot and they went and they registered to vote. Like there's so many people. It's like, yo, man, your brother inspired me to vote for the first time. It's a big deal for me. But I looked at a ballot that had President of the United States on the ballot, and on the same ballot is my big brother's name. So, take some time today and go through the Central District, go through the South End, go through Skyway, go through this district, and you'll find that not one person there will look at you as a loser, man. They'll look at you as somebody who's continued to inspire, continue to inspire the neighborhood. You've continued to do the work. And it's from your small young brother to my big brother. I want to tell you and the whole world, man, that I'm very proud of you, Con.
Man, I appreciate that, oh man. Yes, indeed, man. It means a lot to me, man. And honestly, I saw so many texts yesterday. We got a lot of work to do, man. Because literally, I saw texts from people. They said, "Cuz, I only voted for you. I voted for the president, and I left everything else blank because I didn't understand it." So we got a lot of work to do moving forward around education. But you're right. We inspired a whole new generation of people to fill out and circle that bubble, man. And so, yeah, I'm happy right now, to tell the truth, man. So I definitely feel like, yeah, it's a win for me. It's a win for us. It's a win for our community, because you never know, man. Just like those pictures of me when I'm the Black Santa and everything else, man, you never know. If there's little kids out here, there's people who saw me, a black man with a beard, on a poster running for office. They saw me in that book, and representation matters, right? And at the end of the day, we got plenty of rappers that look like this, Killer Mike, Rick Ross, right? But it's not a lot of politicians, man. And a lot of people told me, it's like, oh, Cuz, if you're going to run for office, man, you should cut your beard. You should do this. You should do that. I said, man, if I run for office, I want to be authentic. I want to be authentic to my community. I want to be authentic to myself. And I want people to know that that's our guy, right? Like, he didn't switch up on us just to try to get some position. I'm trying to take us to this, all of us, to a whole nother level. And I'm not trying to change and leave my people behind, man. So trust me, I already know that we've already won in the fact that we are engaging brand new people that would, like you just said, that would have never did this before. And so, I'm very proud of that. And yeah, and you're right. I would go ride through the hood today, and I would smile and wave. And I can't wait till the next nice day. I'm gonna go to every car wash. Because that's the other thing, man. It's sad to say, but it's a little be a lot of the homies. Cuz, what happened? I'm getting, even though it's on every television, people are still like, hey, what happened? Did you win? So I already know we're going to have a bunch of that. But it's just going to be great to engage with people. And we need to use this time that we have, right? We need to use this time while people's mind is open. They're open for change. They're open to learn. We need to use this time to engage people and bring them with us, right? And let's, like, what good can we do moving forward? Let's go. Let's work.
All right. Well, man, you're in the arena, and it's the man that in the arena that counts. And believe me, inspiring a lot of people. Somebody right now from the Central District, James A. Garfield High School, knows that, man, they can run for office on the state level. So like I said, man, we're all very proud of you, Con. Man, you should really feel as an inspiration. And this right here, this race for office was just that. It was a sprint, and this lifelong work of this marathon that you've been running. So you keep the marathon going, finish the mission, brother.
All right. Salute, man. Thank you, Converge, and everybody over there. Y'all keep up the good work.
All right. We're going to take a short break right now. We come back. Justin Carter from CapitolHillSeattle.com.
My parents coming over here as refugees meant that they didn't really have anything when they came to America. Having reliable healthcare and having a reliable doctor was really important. 共同của tôi, trạm y tế của tôi.
我的社区，我的诊所。Mi comunidad, mi clínica.
بلشدة هي بقارها.
My community, my clinic.
All right, welcome back to the Morning Update Show. My name is Omari Salisbury, joined today, the day after, by Justin Carter of CapitolHillSeattle.com, the Capitol Hill Seattle blog. What's up, man?
Good morning.
Yeah, we're still here. See, the sun came up.
Yeah, the world is not ended.
No, man, we're still. So we're gonna jump into some things here, and go all across the gamut, so to speak. But we're gonna start here in this national race. And before I play this clip here, currently looks like they're projecting 237 Biden, 213 Trump. People are already talking about lawsuits and recounts. But here was President Trump last night. Let me play this clip.
This election remains a nail-biter, and the results in key swing states are not yet known. But when President Trump spoke at the White House in the early hours, he claimed the race would be his, and then said this.
This is a fraud on the American public. This is an embarrassment to our country.
The president said he would take his fight to the Supreme Court. There is no evidence to support Donald Trump's claim of fraud, and millions of ballots are still being counted as they should.
All right. So, your thoughts?
Well, if you're one of the people on Capitol Hill that's sick of protesters and don't like it when they break the glass at Starbucks or Amazon's grocery store, you might keep in mind that it's kind of, if nothing else, a practice for days like this, when you have someone who's a step away from returning to the White House, throwing democracy completely under the, out the window, and calling a normal process of counting votes fraudulent activity, and coloring what has been a pretty amazing day for the history of the country in such a dark way.
Yeah, man, he's calling them out. They already said they want to recount in Wisconsin. It looks like they're probably going to do a recount in Michigan. This thing is getting ready to get greasy, bro.
Yeah, I don't know how many folks who are watching remember the hanging Chad period of our history, but those were terrible days, and it was kind of like a sign of so many things to come. So it's really concerning to think about what will come next from the legal process. At the same time, we have to remember so many of these words are just designed to scare us, and to they're political, they're frightening words, but in the end, the counts still work and the victories still come. I think that there's no reason that the hanging chads this time won't hang our way, right? There's no reason that this can't work for all of us.
All right, so let's take it to the state level here. No surprise on this one. Inslee, any thoughts on the race for governor?
Oh no, I'm glad it was such a sizable margin, especially here in King County. It's a little concerning to see, those giant red pockets on the east side of the state aligning with somebody who mimicked so many of the bad things about Trump. To see that right here in our own state is concerning. But so far, it looks like we've got at least a decade before someone shows up who may be a more formidable opponent in that mold. It's clear from these numbers that Culp was not it.
Right, and it looks like Bob, he's still around.
I guess that's the most exciting reaction to that. I don't have a ton of thoughts on it, though. I do enjoy, his media effort always kind of is outsized for his job. I hear from him probably more as a neighborhood journalist than I would expect, but I hear his office or his press efforts. I find that interesting. I don't really know what the future is. Maybe someday we'll be considering him for governor, I guess.
All right, so here's one, Prop 1 Harborview. That's the closest trauma center there to Capitol Hill, and a lot of people who work at Harborview live on Capitol Hill.
For sure, it's a super local, important vote. You're talking about what, $1.74 billion worth of funding that this lines up. You're not only talking about just overhauling and repair. You're talking about expansion, adding a ton of resources at an already really important, critical regional trauma center. So, it's a given that the community would probably stand up for it. It's nice to see how strongly the vote came out. And it will mean really important things for First Hill's future and continuing its role as kind of, the Pill Hill of Seattle. It's a really interesting neighborhood. There's lots of people who live there. There's lots of business growth. And then you also have this foundation of such important services that are going on there. And so it's important for our area of the city, especially.
All right. Referendum 90. Any thoughts on this one? This was sex ed.
Yeah, this is a really important vote. There's just the basics of making sure that kids across the state get sex ed as a standard, but it also had some mandates around LGBTQ information and education that were really critical and important. And we reported on that. And it's interesting to see actually how much interest has grown across the state now that that vote has done so well for the referendum, and it looks like it will be approved to support the legislation. I'm seeing a lot of people searching from across the state outside of Seattle now saying, oh, what is this? And reading about its impact, especially in the LGBTQ student community.
Right. And it's interesting. I actually had a clip for later in the show, but I think I'll play it now because there's a lot of confusion about this when you talk about sex ed. People think like sex ed. But Deontay Dampier of the NAACP was on our show last night, on our election show. And what he was talking about is that a lot of the education is actually letting young people know, like, what's okay and what's not okay in regards to touching and everything. Let me play this clip right here.
Just in the spaces of having a discussion with kids K through third grade about safety is essential. We have a lot of younger kids under the age of 12 that are sexually abused. And usually, I think statistics show like 93% of those young children under the age of 12 know their abusers. We have to start teaching our children about consent. So Referendum 90 is essential. I think, within our community, it's like, oh, well, I don't want my kids learning. I don't want nobody teaching my children about sex, but it's sexual education. And I think it's very important for us to, for our kids to understand what boundaries look like. And that's a really, really big deal. I think a lot of our community members have went through those spaces of trauma and have swept it under the rug, but it gives the young kids an opportunity to grow up in a space of being smarter when it comes to someone respecting their space.
So Deontay,
has the challenge with this issue really been about people not really understanding it and what the opportunity to opt out, really, because I think once you talk about kids and you talk about sex, it can just stop you right there. But knowing the understanding of really what this is all about.
I think it's just in the space of it being and it's just an upgraded version of sex education. Kids are already learning about it already in school, but we're making it essential for children to learn about it in their classrooms. I think we are reading articles. I mean, Centoya Brown, a young girl who got whisked away from a young man, and young girls that are getting someone invading young Black girl space. That's the thing that when I think about that space about boundaries, our young Black girls are out there in the spaces of and young binary folks our young kids are getting abused in these spaces, and we have to let them know what boundaries look like. And yes, our parents can teach you that at home, but the baton pass off is in the spaces of school.
So, and listening to Deontay Dampier last night, it is true. When you hear sex education, you think like sex education. But what he was talking about is really like teaching young people what appropriate boundaries are and everything else in dealing with these kind of situations. Sure.
And in addition to those really heavy, important topics, there's also just things around your body and health, like body odor and armpit hair and those kinds of things. And that's all part of making sure that we grow up healthy and understand what's happening. Because nothing changes faster than when you're 11 and 12, and the world suddenly gets kind of turned upside down, and your body starts to change too.
All right, so we had a really local one here, Seattle Proposition 1. This was transit. There's a tax that's already in place. I think it's 0.15%. And this vote right here kept the tax in place to buy more transit hours and also things like Orca cards. Huh?
Yep. In a state like Washington, sales tax is often the path to making sure we do the things we need to make cities and our lives work. This will add some more nickels and dimes to your bar tabs and such once we can go to bars again. But it's critical for the transportation infrastructure, the way we can fund it here without an income tax in the state. This is how we do things. And they add up, and the right loves to take swipes at how much we lean on these kinds of taxes. But until there's a better way to raise revenue, these are the ways we need to do it. That's how we have to raise our money.
Right, and they said that at least a third of essential workers in Seattle use public transit. So, it's
Critical.
important there. Let's go to number 5. This was making the King County Sheriff an appointed position. What are your thoughts here, Justin?
I'm glad you knew what Amendment 5 did, because I keep getting them confused. There is a slate of amendments to kind of rethink how duties and eventually how the money will be flow around the King County Sheriff's Office. This will also now, if it continues on this path, I think it's the votes are there to make it so the sheriff's role is no longer a political role. It's not an elected position. It will be appointed, and that I think some people, a lot of advocates believe, can help reshape policing and the sheriff's office relationship with the community here in King County.
But what do you think though? So the sheriff being appointed, people are clearly, especially people in Seattle, are real cozy with the council. They're happy with the council, how the council leans and everything else. Do you think that a decade from now, when maybe the council has changed, the council might be way more conservative? People are like, no, we need to hold the sheriff accountable. We want to vote for the sheriff.
Yeah, I mean, there's a risk. Some of the more colorful characters in the nation are sheriffs, though they tend to be the elected kind. So I do think that at least the appointed process makes for hopefully a more accountable system as far as fitting the role into greater initiatives around social justice and community. I suppose we could worry about, our neighbors to the east dominating the decision and putting in somebody that is inappropriate or a challenge. But I suppose that risk is there even in the elected process too. But yeah, that could be a risk of the future.
All right, wanted to play a short clip here. This is just national ballot initiatives. A few interesting ones, but one that really stood out is Oregon and their decision to decriminalize a lot of street drugs.
Now to the voting results beyond the candidates, the major ballot initiatives making changes to state and local laws and how they're making history. This year, voters in 32 states and the District of Columbia weighing in on just 124 initiatives, the lowest in decades, down 30 from 2016. Experts say the pandemic making it tougher to collect signatures to get initiatives on ballots. Some of the most closely watched initiatives include, in Mississippi, voters deciding yes on this new state flag design featuring the official state flower, the magnolia. This will replace the current state flag, which features Confederate themes. And in California, voters striking down Prop 16, which sought to overturn the Golden State's ban on affirmative action for public institutions such as state college admissions and government hiring. But California voting yes on Prop 22, making app-based drivers for companies like Uber and Lyft independent contractors rather than employees. With the passage of this law, ride-hailing and food delivery companies will not be required to provide employee benefits and protection for workers. And a first in the nation in Oregon, voters deciding there to decriminalize possession of small amounts of all drugs, including heroin, cocaine, and meth. Those found in possession will now have the option to pay a fine or go to a free recovery center. Also on the ballot in 5 states, legalization of marijuana. 4 states, Arizona, Montana, South Dakota, and New Jersey, all voting to allow recreational marijuana use, while Mississippi voting to allow the use of medical marijuana.
All right, so you saw there in Oregon, it's like, pay a fine, or you can go to free treatment. What do you think about that?
Well, yeah, the Oregon effort is an addiction effort. It is about what we call recreational drugs, but at its core, it's about helping people who are addicted to these drugs get out of the system of endless arrests and try and get them towards treatment. It makes some funny headlines and sounds like Oregon's now what a fun place to go party. But it's not necessarily about that. Maybe the votes on recreational marijuana are probably more about that. Guys like Uncle Ike, they're probably pretty happy about the votes last night.
Right. Let me do this right here, because we also got you to talk about the protests. So I'm gonna keep you here, but we want to bring in Nikki Barron, because what we're talking about some there. Hey, Nikki, what's up?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you fine. Wanted to talk to you about some of the first yesterday, some historic elections that occurred across the country.
Yeah, so when I came in this morning, I was like, I need something to lift my spirits. So I looked at some positive things that came out of the election. I wore my Coraline hat, wore my protest shirt. So trying to stay positive about this. So so there were some really cool historic firsts that I was really proud to be witness to. So it looks like we got our first slide here is the King County shattered previous record of 600,000 ballots scanned, with over 1 million ballots counted for 2020. So that's amazing. Like, the voter turnout in King County, that just blew past the last record that we had. So I'm really proud that everybody in King County showed up, voted. We have such an easy voting system. It was great to see such a high percentage of people voting. So in our next slide is other historic first. Oh, do you want me just to put the slides up? Or are you gonna do
go
them?
ahead. You got
All right. I get to drive. Okay. So our next set of historic firsts are a couple of notable ones here. You guys talked about a little bit about the legalization of recreational marijuana in 5 states, or 3 states, and I think 2 were medical. Another great one was California restored voting rights to more than 50,000 parolees. That one's going to be a huge change for California. One that I love actually was that Mississippi will now elect their governor and top offices with the popular vote, which I think is going to be a really cool experience for them for the first time to be able to do that. And then, of course, Oregon is the first to legalize small amounts of recreational drugs. So that was another historic first. Moving on, we've got our BIPOC historic first. So there's some really cool ones across the nation for this. Cori Bush was the first Black woman elected to Congress from Missouri. New Mexico elected its first House delegation comprising entirely of women of color. And Mondori Jones and Richie Torres were elected as the first 2 BIPOC to Congress from New York City. A few more that we have. One I think is really interesting is Kali Anderson is the youngest Black person to win elected office. We've also got Nikki Saville is the first Asian American elected into Pennsylvania State Senate. And in Fort Bend, they elected its first Black sheriff since Reconstruction. And Texas City elected its first Black mayor.
All right. Well, look at you. You went dig deep for some good news, huh?
Oh, yeah. I had to dig in there, but I needed it. So, and then another couple that I thought were really notable is we have our LGBTQIA plus historic first. So Stephanie Byers is the only openly trans person elected to Kansas State House and the state legislature in the United States. Kim Jackson to become the first only LGBTQIA state senator in Georgia. Delaware elected their only openly trans state senator, Sarah McBride. That was a huge race, had lots of national attention. We also have Tory Harris and Eddie Manis are the first openly LGBTQIA officials ever elected to Tennessee state legislature. And Taylor Small is Vermont's first openly transgender legislator elected to the state's House of Representatives. So those were my positive nuggets that I dug all around the internet to find to try to pump up my mood, because the presidential election is doing the opposite of that.
Those are great. I was buried on everything Capitol Hill last night, so it's good to get a look at the rest of the country. There's a lot of good things that are out there and a lot of interesting stories that I want to go read more about now.
Yeah, so we actually have a election page. So it's whereweconverge.com/elections, where I've listed out all the results for Washington's election, everything that's been called so far, as well as these historic firsts. And you can actually watch the replay. We had a 3-hour show last night that was live election coverage with, as Marcus Harrison Green said, the most colorful panel of commentators probably in the country talking about what was going on. So we showed a little clip of that earlier in the show. So if you want to watch the replay, see these historic firsts, or keep tabs on the election results, you can do that. whereweconverge.com/election.
All right. Thank you, Nikki.
Thank you.
Okay. You see, man, she gets it all in too, huh? You see, you got the story, here's the plug to the website, here's this.
Yeah, I need to catch up with your show from last night. I don't know about the whole 3 hours, but that all-star cast, I'm definitely going to tune in for at least the first hour.
Now, you know what's funny? Because we were all on the screen, and then there was Kevin Schofield, and I was like, "Yeah, Kevin, you're adding a lot of diversity to the panel tonight."
Had to adjust your contrast,
man. And so, shifting gears a little bit, man. Protests. We knew there were going to be some. Well, there's protests every night, but we knew it was going to be some action last night. I'll play a video here. This is from Steve Hickey. It's just video, so we can talk over it, and maybe you can tell us from your side what was some of the reporting that you had regarding protests last night. And in this video right here, this is the car brigade members being arrested out on Mercer Street. It looks like there was a total of 8 arrests last night. And this is some footage, like I said, from Steve Hickey of Impactful Lens. But go ahead. We can hear you talking.
Sure. We'll take a look here. If it gets loud or anything, I'll stop if there's anything interesting. But yeah, we've seen demonstrations every night for weeks, so that's not new on Capitol Hill. And sure enough, on election night, there was a crowd formed in Callie Anderson, just like they do every night, a little larger than some of the recent groups. They marched off the hill toward downtown and actually met up with another demonstration from other groups that have been marching regularly. And of course, the police joined in the procession and tailed it. Lots of cars in support, and there was definitely, as you see from the video, some incidents involving at least one car from the protection group that follows along with the demonstrators. There was reports of property damage that the police responded to and made arrests surrounding those. And eventually the demonstrators ended up back on Capitol Hill, some of them did at least, to burn a Trump flag in the middle of Callie Anderson Park. On mostly really a quiet night on the Hill. Once the election results kind of dragged out, Pike Pine is a really quiet place these days after 9 o'clock on a weeknight, and it was even maybe more so last night, despite all the other things going on in people's heads behind the scenes. It was an active night again. The demonstrators made their point again. Police were moved around again and spent hours out with crowds. There were some new things. The community response group rolled out some of their new kind of techniques and tactics, including a new public address system. And it's one thing I wanted to bring up. I saw some references to that the Seattle police was using a system that's similar to one in Portland called like an LRAD. That's basically a sonic weapon / public address system also. But I'm assured by Seattle police that whatever they're using is a speaker and not supposed to be an LRAD system. And I guess they actually used it last night to apologize to the community. I think kind of not really necessarily on behalf of both the police and the protesters. It was probably more of an apology to blame the demonstrators, but kind of an odd scene rolling through Capitol Hill last night as cops were apologizing via loudspeaker to neighbors inside their homes and their apartments.
Yeah, I caught up with these guys. Like, it was a busy day, 3-hour show, then up to the Hill, protest, everything else. But when we caught up to them last night, we kind of saw a different tactic with SPD. I mean, they'd pushed the protesters down Broadway to Pike past the Shell, and then up Pike, and then down 11th. And then when they got to Olive to Callie Anderson Park, the police stopped. In the past, you very well might have had the police go into the park, say, hey, the park is closed, and continue to push. But the police stopped on Olive. The protesters went into the park. Protesters just, until I left, I was there when the flag went on fire and I went home. But the protesters were there in the park, and the police went back to their precinct. So I don't know if that was like a new tactic for them, where like in the past, we've seen them push everybody out the park.
Yeah, it's not clear exactly how the tactics are spelled out, but the general description that Seattle police put out in a press release over the weekend on Halloween afternoon press releases should probably be, take that with a grain of salt. But one of the things that they emphasized was a kind of a more of a non-intervention effort and to try and keep more separate out of the realization that they can set off behaviors that are problems or issues with clashes between police and protesters. And so, I guess maybe what you saw was some of that backing off. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, so tonight, should we talk a little bit about that? I mean,
well, yeah, I did want to talk about it real quick though. What we also witnessed we witnessed like 3 arrests too. We witnessed the bikes come in and just snatch people and poof, and they were
a little faster than in the past too. And it's hard to quantify that kind of thing because you're talking about things we see with our eyeballs and they happen fast. But yeah, there's definitely a little more of an aggressive kind of act that happens around arrests now once they've been decided that they're going to surgically kind of remove somebody from the crowd.
Right. And so now we're looking up here on the screen. I'm seeing a projection, Biden 237, Trump 213. Last night we played this clip. President Trump said that the fix is in. It's fraudulent. Votes are appearing. He basically said that, man, he's won. How do you think that might play into Seattle protests?
Honestly, I think that the expectation was already there for this kind of fascist or proto-fascist behavior. And so, I don't think it's going to really engender anything too new. It might help bring out more people who haven't regularly been protesting, maybe more of the kind of the moderate crowd are going to be activated by it, because it's infuriating. I'm a impartial journalist, and sitting there and watching that, I'm yelling at my television in the middle of the night like an insane person. That's what he brings out in us, and so you might see more people inspired to join that haven't been coming out. It's going to be rainy and terrible out, and police maybe more aggressive now and those kinds of things. But yeah, I think there's a chance that we might see a much more sizable march and rally than what we have been seeing. Maybe something that echoes a little bit more with some of the stuff we saw this summer as people come out and make their stand and have their say.
All right. Justin Carter, CapitolHillSeattle.com, man. It's always a pleasure. I appreciate it. How can people follow you on Twitter?
On Twitter, I'm Jay Seattle. If you just want the headlines, you can look for CHS Feed.
All right. Appreciate you. We're going to take a short break right now. When we come back, it's the Chop Artist. You're watching the Morning Update Show. Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your man, the Big O. Want to take a moment here, first of all, to say thank you for your support of Converge Media. We definitely wouldn't be here without you. Secondly, I want to thank everybody who is a supporter of Converge Media on Patreon. We definitely appreciate your support. And for those of you might not know, I'll let you know, we operate 100% off of donations. Some donations big, most donations small, but we love all donations all the same. If you haven't done so yet, I want to encourage you to go on our website to whereweconverge.com/donate. and subscribe. You click on the Patreon link and you can subscribe for as little as $5 a month. There's higher tiers beyond that as well. And just know that your subscription literally keeps us on the air. Once again, want to thank you for all your support. Definitely want to thank all you guys for your support of Converge Media. Really appreciate it. And literally, you keep us on the air. So this week we got this 3-part series by director Alia D'Alessandro. It's a Chop Artist follow-up. Yesterday was the martial law ban. Today is Maya Marie.
Hello, Seattle. My name is Maya Marie. I'm a Seattle musician. I play guitar and sing, and I'm in a band also called Stereo Sauna. The ways I think that Chop and Chaz has changed art and artistry in the community is I think that it brought a lot more attention to those who probably were looked past beforehand, especially like POC, people of color artists. LGBTQ community artists as well, artists like me, just trying to figure out how to tell our story. I feel like the art was it clarified like what people were feeling. It gave the audience, the people who were there to try to understand what was going on. I feel like there was a lot of confusion too, because people were just kind of wandering around like, what is going on? But then they go and they read the art. They get to immerse themselves in, there was the painted arts, the murals for the victims of the police violence. They were able to look and see that. Now, whether or not they interpreted it in any sort of way that was positive to them or negative to them, that's on them. But like, as far as I know, they got to experience that. It hurts sometimes when, you see people taking advantage of it. Like, I'm gonna take this picture. I'm just gonna be so honest. I'm sorry everybody, but it's what you get. This is people taking the pictures and they're like, I was here, that's cool and all, but make sure that you're explaining why you were there and understand why you were there. It's good that the art was put into there, because that also I could tell that people playing music, people painting, people expressing themselves, they're planting. There's a garden there. I think it's still there in CHOP in the middle of Cal Anderson. Now this is something, I was homeless when I came out here. I went to school, I got my business degree, Seattle Central, homeless, and I slept in Cal Anderson many of times. I slept in that park many of times, underneath the tree, at the end of the park, right across the street from the fountain. Slept under that tree with my dog. That park is a magical place, and people come together to that park and they make great things happen. And that's exactly what we saw there. It was art and community. Also the music, when we were playing music on, was that 12th and Pine? Isn't that what it is? 12th and Pine? I mean, yeah, I went up there with my guitar. I was very scared. Didn't know how the people were going to act. Definitely had some sort of interruption in the middle of my set, but it was just like, people were absorbing it. People wanted to hear something that is moving, with a moving sound. Like, I know it's that we're sitting there chanting at this barricade of police blocking us. That was nice, but people wanted to have that sense of they're listening to somebody telling them a movement of feeling. It's a sticky situation to be in, around a lot of people and a pandemic, and there's blasts and it's scary. That's all I could say is the only thing that's scary about it was the police. That's what's the most frustrating part about being there. That I was scared of the people who were supposed to be protecting me. Everybody else was like, there was pizza. I had free pizza. Like, the community there was so much stronger. And after the fact, after experiencing that, I ended up writing a song, a very political song that I wrote with my really good friend, Emma Pye. She owns the Blue Moon. I guess I'll just say the first lyrics. It's holding my faith to the politician. Make us pay tax, it's a tricky tradition. That is the inspiration I got from being there, from performing there. I have an EP coming out soon you could find on Bandcamp. You could search Maya Marie, that's Maya Marie. And there is currently my solo album on Bandcamp right now that you could listen to. I am also in a new project. That's the room I'm in. This is the practice space for the new project that I'm in. I'm the lead vocalist for Stereo Sauna. Stay empowering. Make sure you support Black-owned businesses. Make sure you support Black artists and all artists that are good, but, Black artists. People of color artists. It doesn't have to be Black, It just makes sure we stay culturalized a little bit with our music, because we can do that, America. We can. We know how.
All right, Maya Marie right there. That was the CHOP Artist Series, directed by Alia D. Alessandro. And tomorrow is King Youngblood. Also, speaking of tomorrow at 8 o'clock, it's Converge Takeover, a big building. We got the live stream going. We're going to have Goodie Bag. Man, that's like Seattle's favorite R&B band. Goodie Bag is going to be streaming live across the Converge platforms. And also Cool Nuts, That's my favorite Northwest rapper. So I'll be hosting tomorrow night, 8 o'clock, in partnership with Big Building, Goodie Bag, and Cool Nuts. We're going to take a short break right now. When we come back, we sent Bobby Stills south on I-5 down in Tacoma for Wellness Wednesday. We'll see what he came back with. All right, welcome back to the Morning Update Show. So we're getting out of our comfort zone. We do a lot of stuff just right here centrally in Seattle. Bobby Stills got on the road, went down to Tacoma and caught up with Potion. That's a small business down there, entrepreneur, selling all kinds of healthy stuff. And Bobby checked in. I hope you brought some stuff back for us, Bobby. You know what I'm saying? These Wellness Wednesdays, they usually bring me everything, but I'm sure Bobby might have used it all himself. Here it is, Wellness Wednesday.
Watercolor. Yeah, we transparent like this watercolor. Yeah.
All right, guys. Bobby Stills, Converge Media. We're in Tacoma, Washington this week with Potion Collective and Mama Succulent Design. We swing by their booth at Point Ruston Market. Then we're going to go over to their brick and mortar that's being built out and see what some of the health benefits are that CMOS has for you. All right, guys, enjoy.
We are in Tacoma on Point Ruston at the public market, and this is my mom, Sandra, and I'm Patrice, and I'm the owner and creator of Potions Collective, and I do all natural health and beauty products. So we've been in business for maybe 3 months. Yeah, so I have all natural health and beauty products infused with CMOS. So CMOS is, for me, it's been a total life changer. It's total body enhancer, and it's good for the body inside and out. So I ingest it so you can eat it and you can use it topically. So this is the CMOS gel. And then I also have like a whipped body butter, and all of my products have CMOS in them. I have a body scrub. I also do herbal tea. So I have a couple of different herbal teas. And then I have face products. So I have like a face and body oil, a toner. I have a face mask. And then I have some aromatherapy rollers. Also, why I got into putting the CMOS into my body products is because my daughter, she suffered from severe eczema and psoriasis. And my dad, he was getting burns from radiation. So one day I was making CMOS and I got it on my skin, and my daughter was having like a super crazy breakout, and something just told me to put it on her skin. And ever since then, I have not looked back. Maybe less than a month ago, my mom just mentioned to me, we need a store, we need somewhere to have our stuff. My house isn't looking like a home anymore. So that just stuck with me. I went home and I couldn't sleep, and I just got online and I looked for a commercial space in University Place. Went to go look at it the next day and got it the next night. So it's really like our workspace right now. So we're gonna do a grand opening on November 2nd. So it's in University Place at the Plaza West, off of Bridgeport and 27th Street. And yeah, you can come shop. We're gonna end up doing some plant classes and do and you'll be able to place orders and everything there. One of Tacoma's premier artists, Perry Porter. He's Perry Paints on Instagram and Facebook. but he did my logo. I'm so proud and so happy about this. Everybody loves it. I love it so much. And he's going to be painting this on my store window. So you can find us on Facebook and Instagram, Potions Collective, Instagram and Facebook, Mudda's Succulent Designs on Facebook and Instagram as well. I do have a website, potionscollective.com. You can do orders online and look at everything that we have to offer.
All right, Bobby Stills, where's my sea moss, man? I know they gave you some sea moss from me. I'm gonna have to talk to you after the show. Big shout out, Bobby, for taking it down there to Tacoma. Continuously trying to highlight Black businesses in the area, bring them to your attention. I think that we put the link in the comments over there. Man, let's support these businesses. And looks like that's a growing business. So they're moving from a space, all into an office space. So that's pretty dope. Few programming notes. So tomorrow we got another edition of the Rewind with Besa. So we'll have that going. Excited about that. And again, tomorrow night we're really excited. We started the very first thing that we live streamed outside of the morning update show back in March was Goodie Bag, and we live streamed Goodie Bag at Black Dot Underground on Jackson. And a big shout out to Daryl Glover, Dancing in the Rain. So it was me and Daryl. Daryl was running the cameras, and I was the sound man over there. We're trying to figure it out. Goodie Bag was playing. I was the sound man and the host way back then, seems like now. So we're excited to really elevate Goodie Bag to the big building platform. That's tomorrow at 8 o'clock. And, of course, Cool Nuts will be there as well. We're going to get out of here for today. The sun came up, you know what I'm saying? Life goes on. We'll see what happens. It still says 237 Biden, 213 Trump up there on the big board. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for your continued support of Converge. And until tomorrow at 11 a.m., peace.
Lift every voice and sing till earth in heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun.